here's the kicker. So I think the most powerful tool, and I truly believe this because I experienced it, the most powerful tool for a man to have leadership in his home is his wife. And just like we were listening to Josh Howerton the other day, he said something that really impacted me. He said, you cannot disrespect a man into being respectful. Respectable. And oftentimes, like, don't get me wrong, ladies, if you're listening to this, your guy is going to mess up. He's not going to have it all together. He's not going to know what to do most of the time, right? And there's two options. There's two choices at that point. You can either kind of condemn him and say, man, this guy doesn't know what he's doing.
What an idiot.
What an idiot. I don't know when he's going to get it together. He can't do this. He can't do that. And you're gonna disrespect him in some way, hoping that he's going to change.
Welcome back to another episode of the Married with Mujica's podcast. We are so excited you're here. We are Richard and Hailey Mujica. We have been married for 12 years, almost 13. We've got 4 small kids. We homeschool, run a home-based business. We're very beginner homesteaders. And we are super, super passionate about marriage and just want to see marriages thrive. And that's why you're here. That's why we created this podcast.
That's right. And you didn't give our slogan.
Oh, okay. Yes, I always
didn't
forget.
give
Our slogan here on this show is building a marriage you love coming home to. Because your marriage should be home. It should feel like home. And that's what we want for all of you.
Absolutely. Let's do it, girl.
So how are you?
I am doing good. Feeling good. Hopefully looking good. I don't know. You tell me. How am I looking today? Huh? Mighty fine.
If you guys don't know, white t-shirt and jeans is my favorite outfit. Some women say like a 3-piece suit is like lingerie to a woman.
I hate 3-piece suits.
Not for me. It is a white t-shirt and jeans.
White t-shirt, jeans, and a beard.
And a beard. And who knew? And chest hair. Who knew it's overalls with no shirt?
And who knew that?
That gets me going.
Come on, Ishmael. I'll put a picture for the people.
Oh my gosh. Richard got a pair of overalls for his birthday. That like, it was kind of like a joke, but we had like just moved onto our property and
that's so funny. That's funny.
He got like a whole bunch of, he got cowboy hats and cowboy boots and whatever. It was just, but he got this pair of overalls and they're camo and he put them on without a shirt. And I didn't know that was a thing for me until that moment.
You were like, woo.
I was blushing. I was hot. I was like, the kids, it's time for bed.
Hyperventilating. I was like, oh my gosh, this is intense.
I was very into it. Who knew?
That's funny.
But yes, you are looking good. All that to say.
Yeah, but now keep in mind, I don't have jeans on, so.
Well, from the top
up.
I'm pants. He is definitely not. Anyways, it was so funny because the last time we were sat down to record, we didn't record last week because we took the kids snowboarding.
That was fun.
Which we live in Southern California, so we didn't get to go snowboarding at all last year because we didn't have a good snow year.
Yeah.
And our kids were dying. And so our boys love it. Our girls, it was their first time going. So we did that last Thursday and that was super fun. And so we didn't get to record. But the last time we did sit down to record, we were talking about how we were in between sports and things were kind of calm. And we're back to sports.
Back to sports. I know. Back in the thick of it.
Yeah. So our boys started flag football this week.
Yeah.
And we love it. It's so fun.
Oh, it's so fun. It's awesome. I love it. Fun. It's great times.
So back to the sports game. But anyway, so today on the podcast, we are talking about spiritual leadership.
Ooh.
And what does that look like in real life with just a real couple, a real dude specifically, right? Because as Bible-believing Christians, we believe that the man is the head of the home, that he is the leader of the home, and that leadership falls on his shoulders. So when you just have a real dude who didn't go to seminary, isn't a Bible scholar, what does that look like? How do you lead your family spiritually? And so that's what we're going to talk about because I think there's two things. I think men can get really intimidated.
Yeah.
And they can kind of get that imposter syndrome where they feel like, I'm not a pastor. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. And so then they don't do it.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you get women who feel like it should look a certain way. And they think that it should be, sitting hands, singing Kumbaya around the fire, and all the kids should sit quietly around the hearth while the fire's on and dad reads a Bible story to everyone and the kids know all the answers to all the questions when he asks them. And it doesn't look like that, right?
And everybody's memorized 1,000 Bible verses.
Right. So then women can get really disappointed,
Yeah.
which then just adds another heap of pressure onto the man because he feels like he's not doing enough.
Yeah.
And it causes the women to step up and take that leadership position that was never theirs to carry in the first place.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about what does it actually look like?
What is it?
Just a normal, real couple, real family.
Are we the normal, real couple?
We are a very normal, real couple. Very, very much so. So that's what we're talking about today.
Good. I like it.
So because you are the man in our home and the head of our home, how do you...
Strong man.
You are. How do you perceive spiritual leadership and how do you feel, how do you think about it and how do you try to tackle it day to day?
It's a good question. So what I would say, some people are. So here's how I think about it. A lot of what I try to do is I try to live it out, right? I think that is the most important thing that I could possibly do, not only for you, but also for the kids, right? And what I mean by that is there's a lot of areas of life that you have to live out the Bible, right? It's like, how do I speak to other people around me? You know, am I building them up? Am I encouraging them? Am I acting in a godly way towards them? You know, how does that look? When I get angry or upset, do I rash out and do I lash out at my family? And do I let anger and emotions control my behaviors? And all of a sudden I'm saying words that I should not be saying in front of the kids and in front of you, right? How do I show up at work? You know, am I lazy? Am I, you know, like the Bible says, like a lazy man profits nothing, you know, like, and so, in my viewpoint, spiritual leadership, yes, of course. I mean, you have to have the talks with the kids. And yes, of course, you have to show up to Bible study and you have to show up to church and you should be, you know, praying around the table with your kids, right? That's part of it. I mean, that is a very important part. But I think the most important part of spiritual leadership is how you show up every day for your family.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of facets in that. I mean, I don't know where you want to go or how you want to take it.
Yeah.
But a leader, like if you look at the man as the leader of the home, the leader always goes first, right? Like he is the person that when they look to the leader, they're like, oh, I should do that because the leader does that, you know? And I could sit here all day long and tell you X and tell you Y and how fantastic. And we're like, oh, but dad, like, dude, when he gets angry, he's like, he's another person.
Right. Or,
you know, dad, like with mom, he's not that guy with mom, you know, like that's the worst. Like you don't want to be that guy, you know? And here's the problem is nobody's going to tell you to your face, but everybody's going to be thinking it, you know, like the kids are going to be thinking in the back of their head, like my dad's not who he's like, this is a fake person.
Yes.
You know,
then
you can't
they just learn how to perform.
Yeah.
And not actually internalize being
That's right.
a Christian. You know, they just how to perform like one.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people forget, like, you know, the reason why you go to church and the reason why you read the Bible and the reason why you pray to God is not only to draw closer to God, but it's to change your behaviors. Because at the end of the day, like the Bible says, faith without works is completely dead. And you don't want to have a dead faith. And so what does that mean? You need the works to back it up,
right?
Who you are and how you operate. So that's how I think about it. You know, from a framework perspective, I think that's the most important part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that was beautiful. And I think you do such a good job with that. I was listening to the Live Free podcast this week.
Big Josh.
And it was so good because it was Josh and Jana and it was a marriage.
They're really good. I really like them.
Yes. It was a marriage. I listened to it twice because it was that good. But one of the things he said was that when a man of God walks in his home, peace should come with him.
Yeah.
And you do such a good job at that. Like you bring so much peace into our home. Even though I know you have so much stress and so much on you, you bring peace into our home. And so the first time I listened to it, I wasn't with you. And so I text you that quote because I just wanted you to know, like, you do this really, really well for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the audience, because obviously you're my wife. And so what does it feel like? What are the signs? You know, what does it feel like? And what do you know from just being married to me? What is the experience? Is that the right question?
Yeah.
What is the experience?
It really,
so people know, like, so the audience knows, like, the tangible. Exactly.
I would say it feels like it feels like so much peace. It really truly does. So much peace. and also so much covering and so much protection. And even with our children, like you were saying, when you get mad, you don't ever fly off the handle. You never have. But you also don't allow things you shouldn't allow. Like you're not lazy when it comes to the discipline and the guidance and the direction of our children. And one thing that you like really squash really quickly is any kind of disrespect towards me, like will not fly. And our kids know that. And I think that's a really beautiful thing for them to witness and for me to receive as your wife.
I think it's actually really important for men in particular. I'm a very, I feel like I try to be very patient with the kids.
You are very.
Right. And I give them a lot of freedom and I give them a lot of leeway. But the one thing that I do have is that there's hard lines in the sand, right? Like there's lines that you just don't cross. And I think the man's responsibility is to make sure that those lines are set. That, you know what, it's cool. We can play, we can joke, but up until here. Mm-hmm. And if you cross here, it's a whole different game.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think your children, your family, the culture of your family, they have to know where those lines are. And I think the guy has to set those lines.
Yeah. And you've done a really, really good job with that. And I think it's like, I think it can be really unfair with children when those lines aren't consistent.
Yeah.
When it's like, okay, sometimes it's okay, but when I'm in a bad mood and I'm stressed, it's not okay. And kids don't know.
Yes.
And so I think those lines have to be really consistent. And you've done a very, very good job of making those lines very consistent. And I think the other thing you've done a really good job with is it can't be everything is a level 10 offense, right? Yeah. There's very, very few things. Like you said, you give them a lot of freedom. There's few things that are a level 10 offense.
Yes.
But those things you don't mess around with. But if everything's a level 10, nothing's very serious.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
So I think you've done a really good job with that. And the other thing I think you do a really good job with is also empowering me as their mother. So like God is a God of order, right? And so you are the head of our family, 100%. And I honor you as such.
Yeah.
But then when you're not around, or even just in the hierarchy, I am above our children, leadership wise, right?
Yeah.
And so you've done a really good job empowering me over the children so that they know like, hey, you listen to mom. For example, today, we had a discussion yesterday with our son about using ChatGPT for math. This was like, whatever. I'm just going to give you guys the real world example. This is what happened.
Yeah.
My son wanted to use ChatGPT for math. And literally what he does is he'll take a picture of the problem, put it up in ChatGPT, ChatGPT will solve it, and he'll write it down. So I'm like, you're not learning math that way, right? So I'm not okay with it. Richard doesn't see a problem with it. Richard thinks, hey, ChatGPT is a tool. If he can use the tool.
To a point. They have to be able to explain.
Explain it. Whatever. That's not really the point, but whatever.
Yeah.
So that was our conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
And Riker was within earshot when we had this conversation. Well, then today when he went to do math, he wanted to use ChatGPT to do his math. And I just said, you know what? Sorry, son. I'm going to take away ChatGPT for now. You can use it when you get to language arts, but I'm taking it for this because I'm going to override dad here and I'm going to say, no, you can't use ChatGPT for math. So he went straight to you. And he's like, Dad, mom said I can't use. And I told him, I was like, son, your dad's going to back me up. I promise you, because when it comes to school, as a homeschooling family, and I am your teacher, essentially, dad is not going to throw me under the bus on this one. I promise you. And you didn't. And I knew you wouldn't. But even though that might be something that we might have some disagreement on, you're going to uphold my level of leadership with our children there, because
that's right.
I think that's what a leader does.
Yeah. And if it's really a big issue, what we'll do is later on, we'll talk about it later.
Which we probably will do.
Yeah, we probably will bring it up. Yeah, exactly.
But, that was just a real world example of how you have also affirmed my leadership with the children, and that's one of the things you're really, really, really good at in your own business, right? Is you're a really good delegator. That's what makes you a great CEO, is that you delegate to people and you empower them within your business to make decisions and do things. And you do that in our home too. Even our boys, you empowered them for certain things or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that can be really, really good leadership too.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I just want to speak to women for a second, because I think that, all men can do this to a point, right? Like maybe at differing levels of success, but all men can do this. But a lot of women, I think, can, and I do this too.
Yeah.
I am 100% guilty of this. But our children will ask a question, right? And it might be a really good question. And then my husband will start answering it. And I'll kind of like interrupt and speak over you and try to answer it because I think my answer's better, or my answer, whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think as women, we have to kind of bite our tongue and let your husband lead your, and then you can kind of interject later or share your point of view. But I think as a woman, you have to be really careful not to try to take over and step over that leadership. And I do this all the time. I am a work in progress.
Well, you might do it all the time, but I don't know you're doing it all the time because I've never really thought Hailey's going to interject on me or she's going to overpower me.
I noticed it in myself and I pinch myself.
Which is so funny because you don't have that many, like you're not a very strong, you have strong opinions, but you're not a strong personality. Mm-hmm. So you don't come off abrasive. You don't come off like, oh my gosh, she's overpowering the situation. You know, it's very, if you do it, it's very subtle. Here's the kicker. So I think the most powerful tool, and I truly believe this because I experienced it, the most powerful tool for a man to have leadership in his home is his wife. Mm. And just like we were listening to Josh Howerton the other day, he said something that really impacted me. He said, you cannot disrespect a man into being respectful.
Respectable.
Respectable. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, like, don't get me wrong, ladies, if you're listening to this, your guy is going to mess up. He's not going to have it all together. He's not going to know what to do most of the time, mm-hmm. right? And there's two options. There's two choices at that point. You can either kind of condemn him and say, man, this guy doesn't know what he's doing.
What an idiot.
What an idiot. I don't know when he's going to get it together. He can't do this. He can't do that. And you're going to disrespect him in some way, hoping that he's going to change. Like, well, if I show him, like, you're not doing the, like, now you're going to become a new man. But actually the opposite is true. Mm-hmm. It's like, you don't disrespect, you actually respect where he's coming from and you affirm that you believe in him and he has what it takes and he is the man of this family and I will follow you and I will go where you want me to go. And now all of a sudden he starts like saying, whoa, like, you know what? I can do this. Like I can, there's some things that I have to change, but my wife believes that I can change and that I can do better. And that belief in a man, just coming from personal experience, is what makes the biggest difference. Mm. Because if you don't have it, you're fighting uphill. But when you do have it, it's like, no, you feel like you have leeway to make mistakes. You feel like you don't have to have it all figured out. You feel like she loves me for me and what I'm trying to do for the family. And that sense of confidence spirals into good behaviors and better behaviors. And it compounds.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that is the secret weapon that you gave me early on in marriage when I didn't deserve it. And that's the thing. That's the key word. I didn't deserve the respect and I didn't deserve the leadership role. But from a godly perspective, I did because God commands it. Mm-hmm. He says, respect your husband. He says, let your husband lead. Mm-hmm. And so it's like from a Bible perspective, you had to, like, you were following what the Bible said, even though maybe it was hard to do that at that time. I don't know for you. Maybe not.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's like you had a gift.
Maybe.
The gift of the spirits.
Well, you know what's funny is like, from the time I was a very little girl, if anybody ever asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? It was always a wife and a mom. Like that. And like that used to annoy people. It's like, okay,
and I knew that early on. I was like, dude, you just want to be a wife.
But so like literally from the time I think younger, that like middle school probably, I started praying for my husband. I started like really preparing myself for marriage very early. Like that was not something I just... You
did. Yeah, I mean, you hyper prepared.
I studied marriage. I prepared for it because it was just something my heart so desired. And so I had really thought through these ideas of submission and leadership and all of this. I'd been thinking about them for a really long time. But okay.
Yeah.
New line of thought. So one piece of advice I hear a lot in the church that I wanted to touch on is that women will tell other women that you got to set your husband up for success, right? Go buy a Bible study book and put it on the table and ask your husband, hey, you want to read a chapter of this for the family tonight or whatever? And I think that's great advice. I think there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But what I do want to kind of take a second to do is also reframe for women what spiritual leadership is. Because a lot of men may not feel super comfortable with that. Or it just might not feel like it's like super
genuine.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So I want to reframe for women that the spiritual leadership can and should, maybe even more importantly, look so much more like the example that you were talking about. And so to look for ways that your husband is already doing it, mm-hmm. and look for ways to show to affirm for your husband to your children, if that makes sense. So like, make sure your children know, like, hey, dad's the leader of our family and dad's in charge and what dad says goes. Like, make sure your kids know that and make sure your husband knows that your kids know that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cause now you're affirming your husband.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like this is a silly example. And I talked about it on Instagram stories last night. This is just so silly. But I had a lady come to our home yesterday to give me a quote for housekeeping.
Yeah.
And she gave me the quote and I was like, okay, thank you. I'm going to have to talk to Rich and I'll let you know. And she kind of was joking and she laughed and she's like, oh yeah, we know who the real leader of the house is.
Yeah.
And I kind of stopped right there and I was like, oh no. I was like, I don't do that. I was like, Richard's the leader and I'll ask him and I'll let you know. And I didn't say that to embarrass her or to shame her, but really just to make sure she knows that like, A, this is how our home runs. And if we are to hire you, this is how it works here. But also more so for my own heart to make sure I don't allow like what you joke about once, you joke about twice. Like, I don't want to go there. I don't think that's funny. I don't think it's cute. I know that women kind of joke like that. Like there's that quote from My Big Fat Greek Wedding where the man is the head and the woman is the neck that turns the head wherever she. And that's funny.
They're
right?
endearing.
It's funny and it's like but it's also not.
Yeah, but don't live like that.
But like so I try to be really careful not to let myself joke like that. And so I wanted to make sure I let her know like nope. Not in our home, but I think that's just like a really simple way that like you can make sure you genuinely are living this and feeling this every single day, all the time. And then also 100%. I could go back to you and say, oh, hey, so that like, hey, I honor you and I respect you, even when you're not around, even when it's just a silly joke, like I hold you to the highest esteem and I really do.
Yeah. And I don't think, I hope women know like that little thing you said, it might seem non-significant, like, oh, really, if I just affirm him, but it makes a huge difference.
It does.
Like to a man, it does. And I know this because I experience it, right? When you say those words like, oh, hey, your dad's, makes the decision, like that just, like at that point, my manliness meter goes way up, right? I feel like, dude, I'm the man. Like, my wife respects me. She trusts me. She believes in me. Like, it just reaffirms all these things that you want a man to reaffirm, right? And in the beginning of our marriage, you did this. Maybe you reaffirmed me, not from a place of, well, oh, he's like the super great guy. Like he's doing everything perfectly. But you reaffirm me from a place of like, I know this is what my husband needs in this moment, and I have a belief in him that if I keep affirming him and if I keep believing in him and I keep lifting him up, he's going to eventually achieve that type of, like he's going to become that type of guy, that type of man, and a woman has such a tremendous power to use the power of her words to help her husband reach his maximum ability in life, to reach who he can actually become. And only a woman can do that. And we were just talking, we were just listening to the podcast about the woman being the helper to the man and how a man, his first calling, his first orientation, according to the Bible, is to his purpose.
To work.
Mm-hmm. And Eve is, her orientation, her natural inclination is to the man, right? So like the woman orients herself to the man's oriented to his purpose and his work. And what does that mean? It means like, well, if you're a woman, you're the husband, like that husband's purpose now becomes your purpose, right? So you have a shared purpose in that. But now what are you doing in that purpose? You are helping, like you're helping him achieve it, right? And the best way that you can help him achieve it is, come alongside him and do stuff, but it's affirming him. It's making sure he believes like, dude, out of everybody in the world, my wife is on my side and she's going to help me realize this purpose in my life, And I think that's the most powerful thing you could possibly give a man.
Yeah. And I think it's also really important for women to know that, like, I think we all crave this spiritual leadership.
Yeah.
But I think we can be so demeaning and we can squash it completely innocently and not trying to. But with things like those kinds of jokes, like, oh, we know who the real leader of the house is, or we know who really wears the pants, like those kinds of things. Yeah. But also, like, if your children know, like, oh, hey, dad said no, but once dad leaves, we'll go do it. Or what, dad says whatever. Just all that constant diminishing.
Yeah. Now the guy, you feel like a joke.
You're squashing your husband's leadership when you really do want him to lead.
You do. Yeah.
So as a husband, now this is a hard one, but if you have a wife who's done that, now we're really big believers in that whoever hears this is the party that's responsible, right? So it doesn't do anybody any good to sit here and say, oh yeah, I really wish I could lead, but my wife is demeaning. Like, well, then how do we lead in spite of that? Or to say, oh, I really wish my husband could lead, but he won't or doesn't or whatever. It's like, okay, well, how can you encourage your husband to lead? We're gonna whoever's listening to this has to be responsible. So let's pretend it's the husband listening. How can you step up and lead your family if you have a wife who hasn't supported it, hasn't allowed it, hasn't encouraged it, has been demeaning in the past?
Well, I think it's so hard to answer because it's not my story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I've never lived it. So I would be speaking out of theory, not from actually living it. Mm-hmm. But my theory would be this, is that if you find your place in that, if you're that guy and you're like, dude, my wife's not on my side. She's not affirming me. She doesn't believe in me. I think two things. Number one is you got to take radical responsibility for it, right? So at that point, so it does no good for the guy at that point to blame anybody but himself, right? So just take full responsibility for it. Look inward and say, you know what? Okay, I'm doing a lot of things right in life right now. However, what can I improve upon? What can I do better, right? And all of a sudden, when you ask that question without blaming, no spouse involved here, it's like you start coming up with answers. You know what? I could actually be doing this a little bit better with my wife. I could be a little bit more patient here. I could actually, improve my relationship. So it's like all these things now you start saying, okay, these things I can improve. That's going to help tremendously. And then number two is, maybe I have to reverse the order, but number one should be going to God, right? Because at the end of the day in marriage, the God is the leader of the man, and the man trickles down to the wife. So every man should be going to God first for that strength, for his leadership, for God, show me what I don't see in myself, and where can I improve, and where can I be better, and where can I lead my family better? So it's like, number one, go to God. Number two, take radical responsibility and try to see where you can improve. And you can't change your spouse, right? You can't. I can't say anything that's going to make your wife respect you more. You know what I'm saying? Or you can't either. Right? That's the thing. But what you can do is get better. Mm-hmm. And when you get better in your marriage, guess what? A rising tide lifts all boats. And what that means is that as you rise, your wife and as the tide rises, your wife will start, in my opinion, start coming up to meet you. Right.
Right. And I think as a man, I think it's really important that you don't throw yourself a pity party and
that's the worst.
Oh
that's
man,
the thing
I would be really successful if my wife supported me, but she doesn't, and so I just can't. It's like, well, that's
yeah.
It's like you got to, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and again, this is a tricky one because I live with the belief. It's just very strong belief. A lot of people are going to disagree. They're going to get. we might get haters in the comments. People are like, "This is stupid." But here's the thing: is if you act out Ephesians, and if you love your wife and you honor your wife and you show her that love every day, I fully believe in my heart that she will reciprocate the way you want her to reciprocate. And so in some level, that radical responsibility starts there. Mm-hmm. It's like, why doesn't my wife have this love for me that she wants to have for you? See, it's a God ordained, God put it into Eve to love Adam in a very special way. Every woman has that. But the question you got to ask yourself as a man is, why doesn't my wife have it towards me? And now when you ask that question, you have to take radical responsibility. Am I loving her like Christ said? Because that love is different. That love is so hard to fathom, and you can't even live up to that type of love. But if you try and you do, your wife will reciprocate. So that's where that's where the story kind of ends for me. Mm-hmm. That's why I do think it's on the man. And some people are going to disagree.
And I don't disagree.
Yeah, a lot of people.
But I also think that as
they're going to say, well, what? So the wife has no responsibility. All the responsibility is on me, and they don't have to take on any of the burden. What about their own actions and stuff? Yeah, that's a valid point. But again, I do believe it starts with the guy,
right?
With the man. So,
but in keeping with the concept of radical responsibility, at the same time, if you're the woman listening to this and you're like, oh man, I wish my husband loved me like that so that I could respect him, but he doesn't. It's like, no, how about you respect him like that and see how he rises and see how he shows up.
That's right.
Women can do the same thing.
That's right.
It takes a ton of selflessness and a ton of self-awareness to say, I'm going to bite my tongue. I'm going to respect him. I'm going to hold him in the highest esteem. I'm going to speak highly of him and about him to the people around us, to our children, to myself.
Yeah.
Your man will rise up. I promise you he will.
Yeah. And see, that's the part that nobody talks about because, at the end of the day, it falls on the man, but you as the woman can make his job so much easier. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when you're a guy, like to your point, if you want your man to love you the way that Ephesians 5 says, well, and if he's not, then you take responsibility and you start respecting him more. You start giving him more affirmations. You start believing in him more. You start, thanking him more. Like all of a sudden that guy will rise as well.
Yes,
like,
he will.
He'll rise. So to your point, you have a very valid point. Like, it starts with the man, but again, if your man's not that, then the woman has the responsibility to do that angle.
To do it anyway. Yeah.
Exactly.
So how do you lead without squashing, right? So leadership is not, this is what I want and this is what I say, so this is what's happening.
I just squash it.
You don't. No, I live with you. I know you don't. But that's not leadership, right? Leadership is very, very selfless and it takes everyone's well-being into account, everyone's desire into account. The last one to get their desires is the leader, right? Because it's your responsibility to take care of everyone. So how would you encourage men to be that loving leader, the loving head of their family, not the domineering, what is that, like abrasive? Yeah. What is that word for someone who, like, it's a form of parenting where you are very, what's that called? Starts with an A.
Assertive.
Authoritative. Yeah. How do you lead your family without being an authoritarian dictator? How does that work?
Well, I think a lot of that comes down to ego for men. And so ego is, I don't even know how I would define ego, but maybe I would define it like this, is a man being stupid.
Oh, okay.
Don't be stupid. Because here's the thing, like, and this is what I've witnessed. I mean, not only with you, with a lot of women, a lot of moms, God gave you a wisdom that is so innate, and it's so, you guys have a special gift of, I don't know, like especially you have a gift of intuition. You guys feel things that a man just in some level can't, right? An intuition that just says, this does not feel right. And I can't explain it, but this is just not, and you've done this multiple times in our marriage, and every single time you actually ended up being right. And a lot of times I was like, oh, babes, come on, that guy's good. That's a good person. They would never do that. And sure enough, Hailey's like, I kind of told you this was going to happen. And so, that happens so often in our marriage that now, like everything we're doing everything together. I run business stuff by you. I run decisions by you. I run like everything I'm going to run by you because you're so smart. You know what I mean? Like you have different perspective. And as a leader, you want to be the last person to talk. Like when I go into a business meeting and I'm in a meeting, like I want to be the last person to talk. Why? Because I want to hear all the information. I want to hear what everybody has to say. I don't want to talk first because I might be stupid. I don't have enough information. So like that's what I try to do in the marriage. Like I want to gather as much information as I can, get multiple perspectives, and then I'm going to figure out, okay, this is the best move. Because this is the best move that I can think of with the information that I have. And if you think about it, making good decisions comes down to the quality of information that you have. And every time I make a bad decision, it's because I either ignored information that I had or I didn't have enough information. And that's ego. A guy just thinks like, oh, I know what to do. Oh, really? You don't have enough information. Like what information do you have? Right? Well, I have the information in my head. It's like, well, dude, yeah, you can go like that, but I'll tell you what, you're going to make a lot of bad decisions.
Yeah.
So that's how I balance it. Like I want information. I want to hear what you have to say. I know that having that makes me a better leader and a better person to make decisions.
Yeah. But I think it's so important for women to hear this. And that is that while yes, your husband should ask for your input and respect your input, I think a lot of women can use that intuition as a way to manipulate their husbands into doing what they want.
Yeah.
And so it's your
responsibility. But at the end of the day, the man does, make the decision,
yes,
right?
So it's your responsibility as a wife to state your opinion and to trust that your husband's going to weigh your opinion when making the decision. But your husband does not have to make your decision. And I think it's really important for women to internalize that and to be okay with it.
Yeah, that's very, yeah. It's also biblical.
It is.
Yeah.
And I really just also would encourage women, if you found yourself where you've kind of taken over that spiritual leadership, or you've really found that you kind of make those jokes that kind of are demeaning towards your husband, or I would just really encourage you to be really repentant of that. And even to like go to your husband and say, I've done this and I'm really sorry, I just think it's really, really important. And I think that women, especially in today's culture, the idea of a man leading or having a leader is very not culturally appropriate, if you will. But it doesn't make it any less biblical. And so I think we need to really fight against culture on this one, because culture doesn't do marriage well, right? Like,
yeah.
So
that's a good point.
We have to approach marriage biblically, and that's the only way we can do marriage well.
That's exactly right.
We don't want our marriage to look like culture. And we hear a lot that the divorce rate in the church doesn't look any different than the rest of the world. But that's because a lot of church does marriage like the culture instead of the other way around. And so we have to get back to
biblical marriage.
Biblical views.
Yeah.
You guys know submission is one of my favorite words in the world.
Yeah.
I think we have to get back to that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you made a story the other day, and a lot of people found value out of it. But you were talking about the concept of, I think, what we already kind of discussed, but I was just thinking it would be helpful in this podcast for women. You were talking about how to lift up, like how to help your husband rise. Do you remember that story? And you got a lot of people. I remember you got comments in the DMs. They're like, "Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense." And because I think it was based off of a comment like, "Hey, how do I help my husband rise?" Oh yeah, remember that lady asked you a question. She said, "Hey, look," she's like, "I really am trying to lead my husband to be a better leader."
Yes,
that's what she was saying.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this would be good to just because I think a lot of women might be in that cycle.
Yeah. So her exact verbiage in this DM was that she's trying to guide her husband to being the leader of their family.
She was trying to lead her husband.
I think the word she used was guide.
Okay.
And like it was a really long DM, but I just addressed it head on. I just said, "Hey, I just want to point you to like the very, very first line you said here. You can't lead somebody to leadership. You have to follow somebody to leadership, and you have to." And so that was kind of that. I forgot about that, but that was a good discussion.
Yeah.
But I think we've talked about that. But I think as a wife, you have to respect your husband. Let him know that you believe in him, that you'll follow him anywhere. That
how do you do that though? Like practically, how do you do that? How do you do that?
Well, first, I think you really do have to internalize it and believe it.
Yeah, step one.
Because if you just say the words, babe, I will follow you anywhere. Wherever you want to go, I'll go. And then the second he wants to lead your family somewhere that you're not super sure about, you're like, "Oh, I don't know. Let me talk to my mom."
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
So what's so funny? You know that phrase you just used right now? What phrase? I will follow you anywhere that you go. You've told me that multiple times. Mm-hmm. And you've said it to my family. You've said it in front of my family. You've said, if Rich tells me we're going, I will go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know that. Like you've said that multiple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's true, and I think it's really important. But if the second he says something you're not super sure about, you're like, "Oh, that's a little too far from my mom. Hold on. Like, let me go get my mom's opinion. We better go talk to the church first and see what..." Your responsibility as a wife is to submit and follow your husband. And I've said this before, and I will say it again. When your husband stands before the Lord one day, he will have to answer for his level of leadership. You as a wife do not have to answer for your leadership. You have to answer for your submission. So even if it's the wrong call, if your husband says, "Babe, we're moving to Iceland tomorrow," and it ends up being the worst thing for your family, he will have to answer for that choice. You will have to answer for your submission. You're not going to have to answer for the choice. Short of sin. The only time I will tell a woman not to follow her husband if he is leading her to sin. And a sin is not just something that you don't like or don't want. It is. I think a lot of times women can use this over spiritual, "Oh, but he's not respecting me, so it's a sin." No. Short of sin, you follow your husband.
Yeah. I think some people might hear that and be like, dude, that's so radical. But
it is radical.
That's radical.
But you want a radically different marriage, you got to do some radical things.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah. Pick your poison.
Pick your poison. This is so true. Submission completely changed everything for us. I went first. This is such a good, solid advice. Oh, I love that. But yeah, the word submission is such a dirty word in our culture. And I think that is so by design because I think it's one of the most beautiful marriage edifying, marriage changing things you can do.
Yeah.
And Satan doesn't want that, right?
Yeah.
Like you, in our carousel today that you made, you said God doesn't care about divorce. He doesn't care if you get divorced as long as your marriage is a mess and is not biblical. He doesn't care. You don't have to get divorced.
Yeah.
I think that's so true. And so I think
and the devil, and it did in that carousel, same carousel, it said like the devil, like besides coming against God, what the devil is just trying to come against marriage.
Yes, like because marriage is a reflection of God himself.
Yeah, a reflection of God himself. Exactly.
Yeah. Which that's a whole other topic that I would love to talk about one day. But so yeah, I think you have to internalize it. You have to believe it. You have to be willing to follow through and you have to be willing to do it. And then, like you said, like I've said it to your family. I've said it to our children. And
that's the important part. Like, don't just think it.
Say it.
Say it. Because look, as a man, I know, like I've heard it come out of your mouth. I know this stuff. And again, little by little, I'm like, oh my gosh, Hailey believes in me. She thinks I'm like the best thing ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as a man, like you need to believe your wife thinks you are the best thing ever to ever exist.
And I think
and ever be created.
They both have to go together because if it's just words that you don't follow up, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And if it's just something you're really genuinely willing to do, but you don't ever say it, it kind of falls a little flat too.
Yeah,
but I think it's really important for other people in our circle of influence to know how much I esteem you, how much I value you, how much I respect you, and for you to know that other people know that. Like, I think that's it's good for your masculinity. Yeah. It's good for your leadership.
Yeah.
I think it makes our marriage better. It makes you stand a little taller for you. Like, the people around know, like, hey, my wife loves me.
Yeah.
And thinks I'm great. Like, that's good. And in the same way,
universal.
You'll hold my hand when we're at a work event, or you'll make sure I have a seat next to you, or you'll put, like, I know that I am like treasured and valued by you, and you know that you're respected and valued by me. It's just it works. It works.
Just works. Yeah. Well, we made another carousel where it's like a marriage becomes a blessing when you have two givers.
Yes, this is a good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes. So marriage. There's 3 different types of marriages.
Yeah.
And you get to decide what type of marriage you're going to be in.
Yeah.
So you can have a taker and a taker together, which is a very
awful marriage.
Awful. It feels like a war.
Culture marriage. That's a culture marriage.
Right.
Yeah.
You can have a giver and a taker, which is when you get an abusive relationship, right? And someone who feels like a doormat.
Or a slow fade, just a slow dying marriage.
Someone just checks out, right?
Yeah.
Or best case scenario, you have a giver and a giver.
Mm-hmm.
That's when marriage just is truly, truly beautiful.
Yeah.
And you have to decide who you want to be in your marriage.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the bottom line for this, and the bottom line for this episode is just that spiritual leadership doesn't have to look like singing Kumbaya around the fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
Men can get really intimidated by that picture, and women can get really disappointed by it. But instead, looking at it as the constant example you live in your life, is it Deuteronomy 4 or Deuteronomy 6, where it talks about, talking about God with your children when you rise, when you sleep, when you're walking down the road. Just it's part of everyday life. It's part of everyday conversation. It's just part of who you are. And that is spiritual leadership. And I think women need to lift their husband up and edify their husbands as the leader in their home, in their own heart, to the people around them, to their children. And then men need to lead lovingly and respectfully and with the concern of everyone that they're charged with. And then it's beautiful.
And that's beautiful.
And that's it.
And it just works.
And then it works.
Everything just works.
So, do you have anything else to add?
Nope. That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was a really good.
That was great.
And I am very, very thankful for your level of spiritual leadership that you offer in our home. And like I said, when a man of God walks into his home, peace should come with him. And you do that. And I'm just very, very thankful for it. Thank you.
Thanks, babes.
All right. Love you.
Drop it
For those of you that don't know, if you're listening on a podcast platform or on YouTube, we record every Thursday afternoon And we go live on Instagram while we do that. So you can come on, you can interact, you can ask any questions. And then we do not share that live video. So if you missed the live, you're out of luck until about 2 weeks later when it gets posted.
That's right.
And so you can come hang out with us there. You can find us on YouTube or Apple Podcasts or Spotify at Married with the Mujicas.
That's right.
Go ahead and like, subscribe, share with your friends.
Share with your friends.
Go check out spark.com.
Sparkcheckin.com.
Sparkcheckin.com. I'm sorry. That is our little app that we created to help couples stay connected.
You guys will love it.
Through all the seasons of life. And we have a free 7-day prayer challenge you can get over on Instagram. Just go pretty much to any of our 50 posts or carousels or reels and just comment prayer, and we will send the 7-day prayer challenge to you completely free for you and your spouse. Because like we said, we really love marriage and we really want to see marriages thrive.
We do.
And I think that marriage truly can be the greatest gift and blessing in your life. And I want that for all of you. So
amen.
That is it. Thanks for being here. And I think we're done. Thank you.
Love you.
Love you.